right, let's go to Sunday Night Football. Tampa Bay Bucks at the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders coming off of a bye. Bucks just played the Packers coming off of a bye too. Back-to-back bye teams. It's in the Vegas Dome, and it could have been a big return home for Tom Brady, but they moved. They moved out of the Bay Area to Vegas.
That's a nice stadium, though.
Bucks. So in the last 2 weeks, the Bucks lost to the Bears on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah,
and then they demoralized the Packers.
Yeah,
but the demoralizing of the Packers is what's getting all of the publicity. It's the last thing that we saw.
Yeah.
They're up to 3 in the PFF power rankings, our ELO rankings. They just made a statement. Are we overrating that one game statement that the Bucs made?
No, because I don't like it's not like they got their ass kicked against the Bears. Like Tom Brady had the ball with a drive to win the game and forgot how many downs there are in football, right? That's not something you legislate for typically. One of the things that's a common theme throughout all those comeback wins of Tom Brady's career is that he's been able to count how many downs there are. He knows. He's very good at that. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame one day. But he forgot against the Bears, so they lost. I don't think that's massively indicative of some huge failing of this team. I think it's fair to say that they might not be a 38-10 win against Green Bay better than, the best teams in the NFC, which is potentially a conclusion you could draw. But I think it's fair to say that game means more than the result of the Chicago game, which is a loss. That game, they had 38 unanswered points against
it was
the Green Bay
10-0.
Packers.
It was 10-0 quickly.
Right. And then nothing from that point on.
Right.
That's kind of nuts.
Yeah, the Bucs defense, not to repeat ourselves again, but it is so tough to say. This defense is elite. They'll do it every week. But as far as capable defenses go, all the pieces are in place. And then you see that game where Jamel Dean has the highest coverage grade in the NFL right now, the cornerback from Auburn, who's just – I remember evaluating him in college. I'm like, why is this linebacker out here playing corner?
Yeah.
And then he goes to the combine and runs sub 4.4.
Turns out that's why.
Yeah, because he's really good. And Carlton Davis is really good too. I mean, those guys can beat you up in press coverage. And then the speed at which Levante David is playing. And, Devin White, the grade's not great. He's not always in the right position. But it's kind of like there's enough splash plays in there that it's, it kind of works for them. There's just speed at every level, and they are doing a really good job of getting after it.
This now becomes, though, this fascinating chess match, right? Because they unleashed the blitz against Rodgers. They didn't start off that way, but then they got to him at one point in the game. They got to him with the blitz, and it's like, oh, maybe. Because usually you don't blitz Aaron Rodgers, right? He carves it up along with every other elite quarterback in the NFL. So they took a swing at it. It worked, and it's like, oh, hang on. Then you blitz them again and again and again, and it's like every time you do, it's working. So they just sent the house, right? 51% of the time they blitzed Aaron Rodgers, and they weren't doing it at the start of the game. Right. So from a point in the game, they basically just blitzed him every play, and he never figured it out or never was able to get past it. So that sets up this really interesting situation heading into the next week, because you put all this on tape, right? You basically put all of your blitzes on tape for the Raiders to see. So what do you do next? It's like this sort of situation, like a penalty shootout, right? If you've gone in the same direction a couple of times, well, now what do you do the next time, right? Do you keep going that way because eventually one of them's got to go to your left, or do you go the other way now? So the Bucs blitzed the crap out of Aaron Rodgers, and it worked really well. So now you're facing Derek Carr and the Raiders. Do you stick with what worked, knowing that you put it all on tape and that they had a chance to look at and figure out what was going, or do you anticipate that's what they're going to have studied, and instead this week it's going to be all 8-man zones and there's not going to be a blitz in sight?
Well, I think it's in Bull's nature to do that, and he's kind of to get after it. But he's also kind of like your Rex Ryans, or the way the Ravens play, or the way certain teams, even when you're not blitzing, there's the threat, and you're crowding the line of scrimmage, and there's some trust in the corners on the outside. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of week to week with them too. They played really soft against Nick Foles and the Bears.
Yeah.
Right? They played a lot of soft zone, and Foles kind of picked it. There was a point where Foles did a nice job picking them apart underneath. So they're back and forth, but I could see them staying aggressive. The Henry Ruggs factor, though, right? Jamel Dean's a monster, and he's fast and all that stuff, but nobody's Henry Ruggs fast. How much does that continue to open things up for this Raiders offense?
And also, this is a good way of beating Derek Carr and the Raiders on paper, right? They want to take the short stuff. They want to get quick passes, you can be aggressive and force him to essentially, if you're going to win, you're going to need to connect on these deep shots over the top. And now the Raiders are really capable of doing that because you've got Henry Ruggs, and Nelson Aguilar has been a good deep threat as well. Like, they have players that can win over the top, but they clearly still don't like doing it, right? It's not in Derek Carr's nature to be an aggressive down the field passer constantly. He'll take the shot to back you off, but it's not like if you're going to come after him all day long and essentially dare him to do that, I don't know if he's willing to do that. If he's willing to say, all right, I'm going to put the ball deep 10 times today because that's what they're showing me on tape.
Blitz numbers for Carr. A grade is 63 compared to a 72 when not blitzed. But the passer rating, the stats are better against the blitz. 123.5 passer rating in 9.6 yards per attempt against the blitz.
Right, because
and they haven't been
blitzed
a
deep
ton.
Shots.
Yeah, so that will be a fun little cat and mouse game with the Tampa Bay defense going up against the Raiders offense. On the other side of the ball, the Raiders are coming off a performance where Cleveland Farrell and Max Crosby had a ton of pressures, but it wasn't a dominant outing from them necessarily. This was against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. It was Patrick Mahomes inviting pressure.
Right.
I don't expect the pass rush to get home against Brady's quick release, the Bucs' pretty good offensive line. So then it becomes Bucs receivers against the Raiders' back seven in a dome.
Yeah.
I feel like the Bucs have the advantage here because they're back to full strength. They're all on the injury report. Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, Chris Godwin, but they're
getting healthy.
A couple weeks removed from where the injury started. So I think the Bucs should have the advantage here.
Right. They're recovering as opposed to, new injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this on Mina's podcast. The Bucs, I think, are rounding into the kind of team that they could be for the rest of this season. There's so much talent on this team. There's so much good coming together that, and with the weird offseason and lack of preseason, it felt like it was going to take some time. So this week one showdown of Tampa Bay versus New Orleans, everyone's like, oh, this could be an NFC Championship game preview. Yeah, but we're probably not going to see it week one because the Bucs are going to take a bit of work, right? But like now might be the time where this is all coming together. The defense is in its groove. The offense is starting to figure out what it is. The receivers are getting healthy. They haven't had most of them for the first few weeks of the season. The Bucs from here on in could look like the best team in the NFL.
We're obligated by contract not to talk about the run game, but Ronald Jones running the ball pretty well lately.
Sorry, go on.
I'm just joking about the run game thing, but yeah.
Along the theme of, does DeAndre Hopkins look faster? Does Ronald Jones look bigger to you?
A little bit. He's playing with more power, I would say.
He's always played with pretty good power. I mean, even when he was like skinny, but just this last week, I was like, did he look that big before? Like, has he added some? Been in the weight room, added a few pounds.
He might be on the TB12 method, but that doesn't get you.
No, that's the other way. That leans you out.
He's as far away from TB12 as possible. The Raiders have the fourth worst run defense grade, the worst tackling grade. So again, as much as we talk pass game, the Bucs are going to run the ball. They do like to have some semblance of balance on offense, and I think it could be another one of those 100-yard games for Ronald Jones. And if that's within the flow of the game, it's beneficial, not just, grinding the clock at the end. So I like the Bucs in this one, Sam. Where are you going with this? It's a 3.5 point spread. Bucs favored here on the road.
Yeah, I like the Bucs. As I say, I think they could be the best team in the NFL for a while.
Yeah, if that pass game coming together, Brady and Arians, got to see how it develops.
Thanks for watching the PFF YouTube channel. And if you want to subscribe, all you have to do is push the button. Don't forget everything you get. A little fantasy, push the button. A little green line for the gambling aspects of the game, push the button. College football, push the button. The YouTube channel from PFF.